So sitting here with Teddy Glass, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Peter Schultz. I play guitar and sing and produce in Teddy Glass.
And I'm Josh Halpern, and I play drums and produce with Peter.
Solid. So I wanna start by asking you guys what you've been listening to right now, and what was your go-to song this past week?
So actually the last couple days, I've been listening to this Ted Hawkins song called Sorry You're Sick. Actually, I was just talking to Josh. My uncle is in the hospital right now with COVID, so I've been thinking about him and kind of learning, and was going to play that song for him, but been thinking about that and listening to that a lot. And it's actually a song that I know from my buddy Eric, who's in a band called Lost John in Arkansas, and they've done a cover of it, and that's how I was introduced to the song. But it's an old song from like the 60s, I believe, and it's a good song.
Awesome. We'll have to check that out afterwards.
I've been listening to that new Haim record, the Women in Music that came out earlier this year, and also a lot of Toro y Moi. And he actually just did a remix of one of their songs called 3 a.m. And I think that came out last week, and I've had that on repeat. That with Moses Sumney. You guys know that record Gray?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, but we'll check it out. Yeah, I haven't listened to the Haim record either, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Oh,
I'm sure you've heard it. They've been bumping that Summer Girl song on KUT
Oh
a lot. Yeah.
Man, I'm not in Austin right now. I'd tune in to
Fair enough.
but I wanted to ask you guys, you guys play in a lot of bands, which I think is kind of the nature of like playing in Austin sometimes. But what's it like writing for different projects, and like how do you compartmentalize what songs should go where?
It's actually Teddy Glass really kind of formed out of sort of that conundrum, in that Josh and I used to play in another group called Hello Wheels, and really kind of started writing these songs that didn't seem to work in that context. And I really feel like that's kind of where Teddy Glass came out of. But then we also play with Daphne Tunes, and Josh and I have been collaborating also on some film scoring work stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of like you just try to write and come up with creative ideas, and then when the dust settles, kind of see where it belongs. And, maybe you can get a vibe as it's going about kind of where you want to steer it. I've been doing a lot of collaborating with Santi remotely through the pandemic for some of the Daphne Tunes stuff. And it's been fun to kind of like wrap my head around. I feel like I'm getting to the point where I can kind of predict what Santi's looking for when he asks me for something. And so I don't know, it's kind of an intuition that you just start to develop the more you play with other people.
That's great. I'm a big fan of the Daphne Tunes stuff as well. Josh, you have anything you want to touch on about that?
I'd say, I write with a lot of bands, but I also kind of sideman with a lot of bands. So a lot of the time I'm hopping in and playing songs or records that have been recorded, and suddenly we're going on tour. So in that respect, it's easier to play those shows, and not as easy to write with different people. But I've collaborated with Peter now for a number of years, and so it feels pretty easy. Same with my collaborator Chase Wynick in Marmalakes. But yeah, I agree with Peter a lot about intuition and feeling each other out, and we talk so much about music just as you're playing and practicing together, that influences rub off on each other, and it becomes easier over time just to see where everybody wants to go with the song. Rarely do we all think something different when a song is brought to a group, I think.
Cool. So for Teddy Glass, you guys, what's the songwriting look like? Do you guys both bring songs to the table and kind of mold them together, or is it more one person writing most of the songs?
I'd say typically I kind of come up with an idea, and then Josh and I really produce it together. Typically, an initial idea doesn't ever make it through the whole process in the way that it began. And it kind of gets stretched and pulled in these different directions. We kind of tried different hats on for it. And then once we find like we feel something that feels really good, I think we start recording it and kind of build it then from there. We've had a lot of fun, kind of amping up our recording setups during all this. And Josh is in Berlin right now. And so we've been sending stuff back and forth, and kind of building tracks together that way, which has been a new process, but sort of similar to the way we would do it back home, just remotely. Yeah.
I think it's made it a little bit easier to clearly see the picture when we're not both sitting in a room with just sheer volume being a factor and trying to rock out the ideas. When you're sitting there working on a song with your computer, I think it kind of clarifies what's going on, and that's great.
Is it a permanent move to Germany, or what's if you don't mind me asking, what you plan to come back to Austin?
Yeah, I plan to come back to Austin. My partner
Nice.
is German, and I've been going back and forth through the entire pandemic. I was initially going to come here in February for about a month, and it turned into 4 months. And now I've spent 7-8 months out of the year here, and I've gone back and forth. So I'll be back in Austin.
Nice. Is it how is it over there? I was supposed to go over the summer, except for COVID, but I studied some German, so I was excited to try it out. But
yeah, it's cold as hell. Everything is locked down. Everything has been locked down for a long time. There was a brief stint in the summer where things opened up for like 25% cap, but all the fun things and beautiful places you see in Berlin are pretty much shut down. So I've seen a lot of the inside of the apartment and a lot of dog walks.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Have you do you know any German? Have you like gotten to, have you picked up on anything?
My girlfriend got me a learn German word scramble book for Christmas. And so I'm taking the deep dive into the scramble book right now.
Nice.
I'm getting my numbers. I'm getting my days of the week. I'm getting my months in.
What day is it today?
Oh man, it's Monday. Montag.
Yes.
Is that coming through?
That's coming through.
I don't have much confidence in my German.
Cool. I took some in high school, and I just finished my last semester of German, so I'm glad to be done. But I also it was cool, but I feel like I never was going to be fluent. But it was fun.
Have you ever been to Germany?
I haven't. But I, hopefully one day. I just wanted to go while it was like fresh in my mind, and I could like really have some like simple conversations with people. So hopefully I can retain some of that.
Yeah, it'll come back. I mean, the one time I've been to Germany, I felt like I started to having never had any German training, started to like pick up on at least like certain like syllables. You're like, oh, you see this everywhere. Figuring out what this means. I don't know, starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember the first time landing in Germany and being like, oh, fuck, nothing's in English. How do we get out of the airport?
Oh, yeah, that would be scary. Never found myself in that position. Hopefully, maybe one day I will be. But so I wanted to talk to you guys about Wannabe, which is the last song you guys put out. And just like, if you guys would want to talk about, whatever you feel comfortable with about that song, like how it came to be. You don't have to like go into like what it's about or whatever you feel like talking about.
Yeah. So that was a song that really just kind of, we've been talking about how we've been producing a lot and how we typically write that way. That was a song that really kind of came out pretty fully formed, and it was just kind of like, okay, we just need to play this song and play to it. You know, it's in writing songs, occasionally you have those really nice moments. A lot of times you're kind of working to pull the song out. And this was an instance in which the song just kind of was all there. And it felt really good to play and sing when I initially wrote it and it came to me. And so actually that was like, and you know, Josh recognized it too. And I played it for him and we were both like, oh, that's a song. So we pretty quickly got some studio time with Adam Mason over at his place and just like tried to capture it and get it down when it, you know, because there's like those moments when you feel like the song is really happening and it feels like, you know, it's not overthought yet. It's just kind of been born. And so we did a day with him and captured that, and then, you know, slowly kind of arranged it, filled it out a little bit over time. But yeah, I love that song. It's one of those songs that just like feels really cathartic to play and to listen to. And, you know, I've gotten a similar response from people since it's been out.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Thanks, man.
Very chill and very soothing. Yeah. Josh, do you have anything you wanted to touch on about Wannabe?
Man, Peter just came to me with a great song, and you know, I think there's beauty in the simple things, and this was one that he played it for me, and I just said that's a great song, and I didn't have to do anything really.
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You get lucky sometimes, and this was one of those times when,
man, great
a friend brings you an awesome song.
Yeah,
you just get to sit back and lay it down.
Yeah, and the album art is really cool too. I like found it like to be really like fitting, which is cool. And like something I talk to bands a lot about is like the importance of like album art to like the experience of the song or an album, and like how it can really make or break it. And I wonder if that's something you think about, like when you're choosing art, or you're just like, oh, this looks cool. Or if you really,
I definitely try to like find something. I mean, it feels like finding album art is its own artistic process, and definitely I want it to be meaningful. And it's something that Josh and I talk about as we were actually just talking about. We're working on a news tune that we're going to put out in spring, and we were just talking about album art before we hopped on this call. The album art for Wannabe is actually an old photograph that I took. I had someone gift me like an old 1950s Kodak camera. Actually, I have it.
Nice.
It's like this super old school like top loader thing, and it's I was just like had been out for a walk and was walking back in my front door, and the screen door was closed, but the front door was open, and the sun was hitting it in that cool way, and it made that sort of shadow within the shadow, and it was just kind of one of those things that just snapped it. And then it was actually several years ago, and found it again recently while I was looking for art for that. And it was a black and white photo that I then like recolored.
Wow.
Just because it seemed like a fun thing to do. But yeah, it seemed like it really fit with the song, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, for sure. The colors are really great in that photo. That I wouldn't have thought that it was like you had to like recolorize it.
Yeah.
It's cool. Do you guys can you talk about doing, you guys both did for Teddy Glass and for Jay Haup, you did songs for the Daphne Tunes covered album, and I was wondering what the approach is to something like that. Like I know a lot of bands when they're doing cover songs think about, I want to like make this, it's got to be like entirely unique, but sometimes maybe it's just fun to like try to be like somewhat faithful and capture the essence of the original song. So how did you guys approach that?
The song that I did was really it is an old song. It's called Mr. Blue by the Fleetwoods, and it's an old sort of like a cappella piece. that I stumbled across during the pandemic, and it was just like one of those songs that like hit you at the right moment, you know, came random on shuffle and just had to like, what is this song? Like it's speaking to me. And so then I just wanted to try, you know, it's got all these kind of cool flowy jazzy chords that walk into each other, and it was as much like an academic experience for me, just wanting to learn it and wrap my head around it, and then kind of build it from scratch as a recording exercise. But yeah, I mean, I feel both of those pulls, you know, trying to like be faithful to a song, but then kind of put your own spin on it. You know, with this one, I definitely took it a little bit further away from its roots, but it felt like my own and in a nice way. Josh definitely took some liberties with that Casey Musgrave song.
Yeah, that I've never really listened to Casey Musgraves, and I heard your song first actually, and I thought it was really great. So I need to go
Thank
back
you.
and I need to go back and check out the Casey Musgrave version. But
Yeah.
isn't that weird to stumble on someone else's song and it's a cover?
It is weird. I love that though. I love when you stumble onto a cover, you don't even know it's a cover. You start listening to it, you finally look it up and then realize it's someone else's song entirely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's a lot of famous ones that are cover songs that you don't realize, but I can't remember any of them, but probably shouldn't have mentioned that anyway.
For my cover, A Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves, I pretty much drug it through the mud. I have a whole different version, a whole B version that is pretty much up-tempo electro pop, electro rock version. Just the complete opposite of the version that you heard. And that's because as someone who doesn't record myself singing very often or covers, my head was spinning. Yeah. And so I recorded two completely different versions and sent them off to Santi and kind of let him decide which one he thought was going to be more appropriate for the comp.
Nice.
But it was really challenging for me. It was really hard. I mean, Casey Musgraves is an amazing singer, and that album is beautiful, but it's pretty simple. And so it's hard to find a lane in there when it's already simple and she's got an amazing voice. And so I found myself just trying to find some way that I personally felt comfortable with the version I sent out.
Cool. That was a very, very sweet surprise to get that compilation of songs from all these like great bands. And I already love cover songs. So it's just like the perfect storm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Peter, I wanted to ask you about like as somebody who like knows, this is going to be really dumb, but I heard, I'm pretty sure like John Mayer once said like he doesn't want to like mix, like he doesn't want to learn how a guitar is built so that because he thinks it'll like mess with the way he plays it or thinks about guitar. I was wondering if you like knowing like what goes into making a guitar, if that informs your songwriting or your playing.
Definitely. I mean, I think I'm a huge guitar nerd, and that is very much a part of how I approach music and my musicianship. And you know, I've been through periods in my life where I was like maybe only playing acoustic guitar or only playing electric guitar, and the more and more I've gotten into the construction and the repair and all that sort of stuff, the coolest thing is I've gotten to like see and experience a ton of different guitars that are all built in different ways and built for different purposes. And so it just feels kind of like my palette is really wide and diverse. And so like I understand, you know, what maybe something was made for, but what it can also be sort of reappropriated to achieve. And definitely like the guitars that I play currently have informed the way that I play, and just like how to get the best sound out of them, and how to play softer and leave more space, because you have a nice guitar that has all this really rich harmonic information to give back to you. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I feel like every bit that I know more about it is just like another pathway to a new idea and a new approach, to bring to Josh or bring to the table and see what we can do with this. Because there's definitely been times when we've written songs where it's like, I hear this sound, or I figured out this like 2-second little blah, 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 and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it sounds cool. And then we'll just like get together and smoke a bunch of weed and jam it.
Nice. I've been watching a bunch of like guitar building and restoration videos for some reason over the past couple weeks, because I am like, I've always been interested, but it's like I don't know how you like, how does one get into that area of like building guitars or like restoring guitars or whatever. I feel like that's like such a niche thing where you have to like, I think you have to like do apprenticeships or whatever is what I've heard people say.
There are schools and there are apprenticeships and stuff. I apprenticed with a guy, but a lot of guys I work with went to school for it. Really, it's like experience. Just the more guitars you get to put your hands on, and hopefully not fuck up.
So I want to get into some stuff about like Austin, if that's cool. I wanted to ask you guys what your favorite place to play in town is and why. Well, maybe it doesn't have to be excluding places that have recently closed. But yeah, maybe that was kind of a bummer. Sorry, but
no, it's all good. I mean, when you initially asked that question, my first thought was Barracuda. I was like, over the last couple of years, I've been really like had the opportunity to play that stage many times, and was getting to where I was like really feeling at home on that stage, and I was really looking forward to every time playing it. So the news that they were closing down really hit pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a great venue.
Man, I love the Mohawk. I could just think of a million shows going back and forth from inside stage to outside stage and just having a blast, and all sorts of mini festivals or giant festivals. But I love that outdoor stage. There's nothing like looking out there and seeing people up on the second balcony or the third balcony.
Yeah. I've seen some great shows at both of those places. Man.
What about you?
I maybe I would say Barracuda. Cheer Ups is also really great. We had KVRX Fest a few years ago, and that was like primarily at Cheer Ups. With we also had a stage at the amphitheater by the creek.
By Serrano's.
And but Cheer Ups is really great, and like always, people are just really like friendly there, so it's just a lot of fun to hang out. But Barracuda is probably where I've seen my like the coolest shows, and we've had some KVRX shows there too, which have been really great.
Yeah, that KVRX fest we played with Daphne Tunes, I remember that was like on that outside Cheer Up stage, and it was just one of those gorgeous Austin days. It's like sometimes when you get to like play with your band outside and it's like beautiful weather, got a beer, it's the best feeling.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you guys, and I was like, wow.
Oh, cool.
It was so sweet. Yeah, y'all sounded great.
Thanks.
So what do you guys love about the Austin music scene? What do you dislike, if you're willing to say? And did you find it was easy to be accepted into? Because I know it's like you guys have been playing here for a long time, and you both went to UT and have been playing in bands since then. Was it like, did it take a long time to kind of like be accepted into that?
I mean, I think it takes a while to sort of figure out who you are and how you be as a artist and a musician sort of in a community. And I think that turns over time. I think definitely when I first started playing out in Austin, it was a little bit of a learning curve, just because, you know, it's like you're coming with this very personal product, creative product that you're sometimes sharing for the first time to like a large public audience. And that comes with its own sort of fears and awkwardness and things. But now that I've been doing it for a while, it feels pretty comfortable. And I find that sometimes the only kind of like ongoing adjustment is really just how the scene kind of turns over sometimes. You know, it's like at this point, you know, especially with Daphne Tunes and with some of the other people we play with, there are other musicians that we've been collaborating with for many years now. And we've, you know, sometimes there'll be a new band that has members that you've played with in old bands. You know, with Daphne Tunes, I feel like it's a lot of musicians that I've known for a long time and maybe haven't had the chance to play with yet. Or, you know, in Josh's case, like we've played together for a long time. I don't know. It's kind of just like a tumble dryer, just turning everybody over and mixing it up. And that's always really cool to me.
Josh, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm born and raised Austinite, so I don't really have any other scenes to compare it to other than for touring through towns. But I feel like Austin is incredibly accepting community. You know, if you're a nice person, you're going to get along with a lot of people real quick. And I think sometimes that brings us together more than even our genres of music, and just people getting together at a certain show and enjoying each other. And then you invite someone to play the next bill, and then you meet someone at that show that you like. And it has always felt very inclusive to me. Although I can remember back to when I was walking up and down the strip trying to play for tips at the hookah bar, and no one wanted us to play. I was luckily a long time ago now, but I'd say for about 10 years, it's just felt like everyone is super accepting and just trying to lift each other up. So that's one thing I love about this city. So one thing I don't like about it is that if it can feel difficult to reach beyond the city, I think, unless you're out there touring, which a lot of us have jobs in the city where you can't just pick up and leave, just like Peter. I think playing the same venues over and over again with your friends, while it's great for the heart and the soul, it is not necessarily great for reaching new fans. And while Austin is a great place to play and has tons of opportunities to play, it can be hard to break out of that local scene. I feel like many of my projects are still at that level, just trying to reach beyond. And yeah, I don't really know. I don't have an answer of how to get around it, but that's one thing that I've struggled with for a long time.
For sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would say that you would like to see change in the art economy of Austin before, by the time shows hopefully come back?
Well, so, you know, I've been thinking about this a little bit earlier in the pandemic. I went to a couple of the musician demonstrations at City Hall, and learned a lot there. Just about, you know, it's very easy to like, Austin has so many different kinds of people and there's so many different groups, and it's like sometimes your music community feels like the world in Austin. And it was nice to be there and there be whole entire other communities of musicians that operate in a different way, and to learn about how they exist and how they interact with the city. You know, one of the things I did learn there is kind of about how much the city uses the visibility of the musicians and the sort of branding of that musicians provide to the city as a advertising avenue, and how much tourism and money they're able to bring in because of that. And, you know, unfortunately, it has taken a long time to get support to some of the venues and some of the musicians that need it most in town. And so there was some, it was really encouraging though at those demonstrations, because there were some really smart people, like people that were just like bartenders and venue workers who, like, and you've played shows with, and you've had sort of these working relationships that are friendly, but you don't really see them much beyond that scene. And to see them up at a mic and having written out a very eloquent and intelligent approach to like policy decisions, it is a pretty cool experience, and pretty powerful. And I feel like those people have been able to at least get the ball rolling to get the city to start treating the musician constituency as a group with some political power, to make demands. And one of the things they were talking about is like having some sort of ecosystem in which that tourism money, like part of the taxes that come from that tourism money, come back into the music industry. Because for up until now, a lot of it goes elsewhere. And that's not acceptable, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Josh, anything you'd like to touch on there?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Pete in that it's crazy how much the city uses artists to prop up how cool Austin is. But I've never seen too much money from making music as it is. So, I don't know I really don't know how much different it can be, but I like the sound of what you said, them putting some of that money back into artists and venues more often than never.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just to kind of like tack onto that, it's like, I feel like kind of your previous answer about how it feels like there's sort of a ceiling and it's a struggle to break out beyond Austin. I think that's what kind of that conversation that I witnessed is about investing in the infrastructure that musicians exist within in the city, so that there are some real avenues to like have a real career, rather than having, I'm a musician, but then I of course do something else to make money. Like having a real sort of like industry infrastructure to be able to have a career as a musician.
Yeah.
I don't really know of other cities that do anything like that. Do you guys know of cities that
I
I don't know, they put
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean, it sounds great. I just don't know what it would look like or have anything to compare it to. So I don't know, when I start this thought, it makes me kind of angry, but by the end of the conversation, it makes me think Austin is kind of cool in that in some ways it helps musicians out, specifically programs like HAM. For years have been providing thousands of dollars worth of medical help to musicians. So
Definitely
programs like that. And then that creative workers grant that Austin had during the pandemic, the CARES Act, the Music Disaster Relief Fund. Those things were amazing programs. And I think maybe they were all national, but even just having HAM is exceptional. And I'm very thankful for that.
Definitely.
it's interesting to hear from y'all's perspective, because just like not being a like musician or like a member of HAM or whatever myself, I don't really, it's interesting because I don't feel like people who work in the industry might not know, or like what it's like as a musician, or like what the insides of that kind of thing. But thanks for touching on that.
Yeah. Oh, I also want to shout out Red River Cultural District, because they've been passing out gift cards, HEB gift cards to musicians and workers in the industry throughout the pandemic. I think they're on their third or fourth phase. And
For sure.
It's a huge help and something that I haven't heard happening in any other city. So props to them.
For sure. But what kind of advice would you guys give for young people trying to get into the scene, or is there things people should watch out for um, just like navigating being in your 20s and trying to do creative work in Austin?
I'd say keep your head down and make the art that you want to make. Do not compare yourself to those around you, because there's no need for that. If you got art in your soul, then that's what you need to focus on, and not how people are reacting to your peers and those around you, what they have and what you have. That's not important. I'd say maintaining a focus on the art form, most important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think focusing on your art form and really sort of challenging yourself to further it, and develop your skills. I think that sort of in this modern age, there's often a pressure to like get something out. You want to be a musician, so you feel like you have to like project that outward. And there is a real benefit to like letting that marinate and really crafting your sound and your skills, so that when that sort of momentum starts to build, it's more substantial. Yeah, I think the most fun I've had as a musician in this town is like the behind the scenes stuff, like connecting with other musicians, the feeling you get when you create something that is like really working and you just want to play it, rehearse it for the 5th or 6th time just to hear it again. Those are the magic moments.
Solid. Thank you for the knowledge. Are there any people, musicians or non-musicians in Austin, that you think people should be looking out for?
Josh and I were just talking about one of the records that came out this year that we were both really loving is the new Daniel Fears record. That just has some like really creative production. His vocals and lyrical content are really amazing. That's been a really cool record to see, because it's sort of been kind of peripheral to our circles for a while, and knew it was in the works, but I've been really excited about that. We, through the pandemic, we've been working with Adam Mason a lot before, and we just mixed a song with him, and he's kind of got his studio off the ground and running. So anybody who's looking to record some stuff should go his way. Yeah, Josh, you got?
I love that band Leyline.
Yeah.
You guys familiar with them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful Spanish music, completely outside of our normal genre, but we've shared a couple bills with them, and for very sweet women who are incredibly talented, and they just put out a record, I think, last month.
Very cool. We'll check it out. So just wrapping up with the last couple questions, what are the best ways that people can show you guys support right now?
I mean, the best way is listening to music, following us on Spotify and other listening platforms, Apple Music. And then we've got some shirts on Bandcamp that you can buy. I mentioned earlier that we have a song that we just mixed, and we're probably going to put out in the spring. So, following our accounts and being ready for that when that comes out. We're really excited for that. Supporting the rest of the community too, listening to Daphne tunes, listening to other projects we play with. Yeah.
Sweet. What do you guys have coming up? Well, you mentioned the song in the spring. Is there anything else you want people to know about? I was going to ask Peter if you wanted to talk about Shirley Sound at all.
Yeah. So one of the things that I started doing, and Josh has been collaborating on this as well. And then with my other writing partner, Gary James, we started a company called Shirley Sound that is sort of a music production house and also film scoring. And so we've been building a library of songs that can be licensed for film or TV, or any number of podcasts even, and we scored a film trailer, a Japanese film trailer during the summer, for a film called Tracing Her Shadow, that's right now in sort of like the international film circuit, and that was really fun and cool. And so yeah, we're just slowly building that business, and that has been, you know, really cool and educational for a lot of the things we've talked about in this conversation, just like learning to play in different styles and really trying to create like a specific mood with a musical piece. You know, we recently did Santi and I did a taping for Cinderblock TV for Daphne Tunes over at Central Machine Works, and that was a really cool setup and a really cool day and vibe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. We did one of the new tunes that Santi released during the pandemic, Surreal, and that was the first time that we had ever played that song. So that I'm excited for that to be out. You know, been collaborating with Josh on the J-Help stuff, and I know that he's got a few in the can that are going to be coming out soon, that I got to play on. Been really fun doing that stuff too.
Sweet. Excited to hear all this stuff. Josh, real quick, I wanted to ask what if you got a kick out of naming the song SOB for Sunrise Over Berlin.
I got a little kick.
I thought it was funny.
Thanks.
It was good.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until I was writing it down. So maybe my brain, my monkey brain was working before I was thinking of it. If I could plug just a couple things.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got some friends in Los Angeles called the Dial Tones, who I collaborated with on their upcoming single. Lauren and Chris Cox. They lived in Austin for a number of years, but they've got a great musical project, and very happy to have drummed on their upcoming single, and then we'll be working on a record. But that was pretty cool because I got to record drums here in Berlin and send it to them. And now we've got the song completely done and got a cool music video. And we'll be working with Space Flight Records out of Austin. And also my other group, Marmalakes, has a couple singles that'll be coming out in the spring. And like Peter said, we've been working on some new J-Help stuff. So I think we'll have a new EP coming out maybe summer, maybe springtime.
Very cool. Nice. Awesome. Well, I just want to say, everybody who's listening, support these artists that have been mentioned, and also Teddy Glass, and buy a t-shirt if you can. Save the music. Look out for the single in the spring. And thank you guys for doing this. This has been the second episode that we have recorded for the podcast. So thanks, guys.
Oh, thanks, Wes. Appreciate you having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.